that is the end of John Wick 3. So what it doesn't show is that when John hit the ground, when somebody went out to check and get the body was gone. So what happened was Bowery King sent homeless people up there to put him in a wheelbarrow and roll him into safety and hide him underground. So the High Table is still mad at Winston because he didn't really kill John Wick, and then mad at the Bowery King. So okay, so that's the end of Parabellum 3. And there's all kinds of great scenes. There's like fighting with swords on horses. There's fighting on motorcycles. There's fighting in a there's all kinds of fighting. So there's all kinds of fight scenes in all this. I'm just going through the I'm trying to get to John Wick 4. So John Wick 4. Okay. So John Wick 4 starts out with John going back to Morocco to try to get his ring back. And so there's him on horseback, and he's chasing after 3 guys, and it's looking like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and he's going through the desert. And so he's chasing them, and one by one he picks them all off. So he kills those guys. He gets to the Elder, but the Elder is played by a different guy who played him in 3, and they don't really, it took me a minute to realize that's who he's supposed to be, is the same guy from 3. But anyways, he asked the Elder for his ring back. And he's like, your ring's long gone. You've wasted your trip. And John Wick's like, not really. And then he shoots him in the head. So he doesn't get his ring back, but he does kill that guy. Now, while he's there doing that, there is another guy who is even higher than the adjudicator and all that. This guy's called the Marquis of the High Table. So he's like a senior member of the High Table. So he is in New York, and he calls Winston and Sharon to his office. So he wants to talk to him about why John Wick got away and all that. And so Winston is like, well, you know, he's dead and all that. And what the Marquis does is he kills Sharon and shoots him in the heart right there, which, I mean, this is right at the beginning of the movie. And Sharon is a beloved character through all of these movies. Plus, Lance Reddick just passed away on March 17th. He was going around doing press releases and stuff for the film, and he's died of natural causes at the age of 60, which it was really bizarre that he got killed off at the beginning of the movie when he just literally actually died like the week before. So that was very, very sad to me that he got killed off right away, because I knew that he was actually really dead. And so you know, anyway, so that really kind of upset me, because I purposely didn't watch any spoilers before I went to go see the movie. I wanted to watch the movie fresh, so I didn't know that was coming. But anyways, so that happens, and then the Marquis has Winston walk over to the window, and you can see the hotel, the Continental, in the background. He blows up the Continental, and you see all the charges going off like, you know, a demolition in Vegas, just and the Continental falls into a heap of dust. So the Continental's gone too, and I'm like, oh my God, the Continental's gone too, now what? So Winston goes underground with the Bowery King in New York, so because he's basically homeless, and his number 2, Sharon, has been murdered. So then you go back to John Wick, and what he is doing is he is taking refuge at the Osaka Continental in Japan. Now this is a beautiful hotel. It was so gorgeous. And now this was filmed in Japan, Germany, Paris, and New York. So the Osaka hotel was beautiful. It was like red. It was modern, gorgeous. The cherry blossoms. It was a stunning, stunning Continental. So there he goes because he has a friend there. His friend and his daughter run the hotel, but they have to hide him too, because the High Table is looking for him. And the High Table has also, the Marquis, contacted an old friend of John's, played by Donnie Yen, who has retired. Now he is a retired assassin, and he's blind. So that was very interesting, because he does everything by feel and touch. And I mean, his fight scenes were just amazing. So he was fantastic all through the movie. He also worked with Keanu 8-10 years ago on something. Might have been I can't remember the name of the movie, but Anyway, so he's worked with Keanu before too. So the Marquis brings in him and threatens if he doesn't help kill John Wick that he will harm his daughter. So reluctantly he agrees. He's going to go try to find John Wick and kill him. There's also another character called Mr. Nobody, and Mr. Nobody is kind of like a mercenary, and he's trying to get the bounty on John Wick, and he is just a random guy, and he's got a German Shepherd dog who's also trained to kill, and so he was the only character with a dog in this movie. But he's trying to hunt John Wick because he wants the bounty money, but he doesn't think the Marquis is offering enough money. So he kind of helps keep him alive a little bit and helps him because he's wanting the bounty to go up so he can make more money. So anyways, all these people are after John Wick, and when the daughter finds out at the Osaka hotel that her father, she's like, "Father, don't help him. They'll come after you. They'll kill you." And which is exactly what happens. They all show up at Osaka. The high table sends a freaking stormtrooper army of people, and they just, so what they try to do is on the down low evacuate the hotel. She's like, "Tell everybody, get out." So they're trying to evacuate everybody, and then all the people come in, and then the fighting ensues. And so during this part, everybody's trying to kill John, and John's trying to escape. So after all that happened, Donnie Chen's character, anyways, does kill the father, and the daughter, he lets the daughter live though, and walk away. And John Wick gets away with the help of Mr. Nobody, because as he's trying to get away, he kills people and John Wick escapes. Where do we go from here? I forgot. Let me check. It's a 3-hour movie, y'all, and it was great. Hey, every minute action. If you're a John Wick fan, it was great. Because after 3, I was like, it's kind of, I hope 4 is not just grinding it into the ground to get every last dollar out of this franchise. But actually, you can skip 3. You can just go 1, 2, 4, and it's all great. John Wick 4 is a freaking masterpiece. The only thing that I don't think we needed Mr. Nobody as a character, no disrespect. I didn't like Sharon getting killed right at the beginning of the movie. Maybe Sharon could have been assigned by the high table to go after John Wick or something like that, and he could have played Mr. Nobody and, been in the movie longer. I don't think we needed Mr. Nobody as a character. I didn't really anyways, okay. So there's that. So after we get out of Osaka, Kane, that's his name. So John gets to New York, and he meets up with Winston at Sharon's grave, and or his mausoleum, really. It's not a grave, it's a mausoleum, and lighting candles and everything. And he says it has "friend" inscribed, and he's talking about, that just killed me. I was like, oh my God, the timing of all this is just surreal. So, so he decides Winston wants to, he tells John about the old high table tradition that you can invite the high table guy to a duel, but you have to be sponsored by your family, and he has no family. So, but that's the only way that he can be free of everybody trying to kill him. So he goes to his old, his sister, his adoptive sister, Katia. Okay, so he goes to Katia, and he's like, "Hey, if you let me," she's like, "You're excommunicado." He goes, "But if I am sponsored and I have a crest and I have come from a family, then I can request a one-on-one duel with the high table, and if I kill him, then I am free of all this, and all this is over." So they agree, because there was a member of the high table who killed Katia's father. So so she agreed to help John only on that condition, because she wanted revenge for her father's murder by the high table. So they agree, and they take him back in, they burn the Ruska Roma crest into him, and he goes, and they meet with one of the high table kind of judges, and they decide how they're going to do it. So they deal out cards, and they say, okay, when do you want it to be? Sunrise, sunset. And so they decide sunrise. And then you say, okay, how do you want it to be? You want it to be with pistols? You want to be, John picks pistols. So whoever draws the high card gets to pick. So that's how it's going to be. So he has to get to the appointed place of the duel with pistols by sunrise. And so the Marquis is doing everything he can to make sure, because this is going to take place in Paris, that he doesn't get to the duel site before sunrises. So they are sending everybody after him, trying to kill him. So there are some great car chase scenes in Paris, and they're going around, and they're all kinds of cars, and they're in traffic, and they're, what's that called, that landmark, Sacré-Cœur. So, because now it's up to $40 million is the price on his head. So they're broadcasting from a radio station in the Eiffel Tower, which is just beautiful, and it's all lit up, and she's giving everybody who's trying to kill him position locations where Wick is at, so they can all send people over there to try to kill him so he can't get to the duel place, because if he doesn't get to the duel by sunrise, then his life is forfeit. So anyways, everybody's trying to kill him. There's all these fight scenes. They're climbing the stairs. They're going up all the flights of stairs, like 200 stairs, shooting people all the way. At this point, Donnie Chen's character is trying to help him get up there. They get up to the top of the stairs. They get knocked all the way back down. It's so crazy. And finally, he gets up to the top of the stairs, and even Mr. Nobody's there. That's the other thing that I couldn't figure out. Why is Mr. Nobody at the duel? And he's been negotiating this whole time with the Marquis to try to get it. I think they got it up to like $200 million. He's like, but when people were trying to kill him, they went to go shoot his dog, and John Wick shot the guy who was going to shoot the German Shepherd that belonged to Mr. Nobody. So because he saved his dog, that goes back to the dog theme back from the first movie. So then he decided that he wasn't going to try to kill John Wick anymore, that he was going to be his friend. But at the duel, he's sitting there on a park bench with a beer, like he's us sitting on the sofa watching the whole thing. And I'm like, why is the high table letting this guy sit on there? Well, it may be because the Marquis was there and he was trying to kill for the Marquis, but you know, why didn't the Marquis kill him when he decided not to kill John Wick? I don't even know. I don't think we needed Mr. Nobody in there. Whatever, sorry to Mr. Nobody. I'm sure you're a really nice person or whatever. I didn't think you're the only character that didn't fit in this movie. I wish Sharon could have been your character in some way, shape, or form, and had Lance be in that. Anyways, whatever. So it was brilliant. So the pistol duel. So they had to do. So the Donnie Chen character is going to stand in for the Marquis, so the Marquis doesn't get shot. So he's standing in for him. And then John Wick, so they got to do 30 paces. They each get one bullet. At 30 paces, they turn around and they shoot each other. So they each kind of graze each other, and they're wearing white shirts, so you can see the bullet and the blood, whatever. So they shoot each other, and he's like, okay, they each get one more bullet to put in their guns. They put it in they have to take 10 paces in, so now they're only 20 paces apart. They both shoot each other. Now John's got a pretty good gunshot in his side, and the blind Crane character, he's shot too, but not as bad as John. So now they have to walk 10 more paces in, and they each get one more bullet. So they have to turn and fire. So they both turn. John doesn't fire, and I didn't catch that. That was so clever. So Crane fires, hits John again. John goes down. Okay, so he's like really wounded, and he doesn't, but I didn't know John didn't fire. So what happened was, so now the Marquis, he's going to initial the final kill shot because John's down, but he's not dead. So he's going to go shoot him in the head and, you know, put him out of his misery. So I was like, oh God, he's going to, you know, so he walks up to shoot John Wick in the head, and John shoots him in the head and kills the Marquis right there. So that was brilliant because I didn't realize when they turned to fire that he didn't shoot. So he still had that one bullet in his gun. He kills the Marquis. So now the marker's free. And the Marquis had previously pardoned the Crane character and said, "You're free, your daughter's free, you can go now." Because, you know, he and John used to be friends. He didn't even want to do this. He knew John. But anyways, the Marquis is done. So the officiator of the duel says, "Okay, Mr. Wick, you are now free of the marker. You are free to go." So that was great. And so finally, John has won his freedom from the high table. He's not going to be chased anymore. Winston had negotiated in the deal that if John won, that the Continental would be rebuilt and he would be reinstated as the manager. So that was really, really good because he kind of got that thrown in. So the judge decreed that the Continental be rebuilt with Winston reinstated as the manager. And then John just started walking down the steps because the sun's coming up. It was a beautiful sunrise. And he's taking off his belt and his ammo. And he goes and he sits down. And he told his buddy Crane that he owed him one. And he said, "Yes, friend." And he asked Winston, "Can you please take me home?" And Winston said, "Yes, I will take you home." And then John was sitting on the steps and he was having visions of Helen, and he just said her name. He said Helen, and then he just kind of laid down. And the next scene is you have the Bowery King and you have Winston at John's gravesite, and it says Helen Wick. But notice there's no date. It should have said Helen should have, you know, died in 2014. There should have been dates on her grave, but there were not. And then next, John, it said John Wick, loving husband. Now, he'd always, back to the scene where he asked what he wanted on his, kind of a foreshadowing what he wanted on his gravestone. He said, well, you know, he couldn't think to what to put on Sharon's, and then he finally put friend, and he goes, I want loving husband on mine. So that's what he wanted to be known as, not as an assassin for the high table. But anyways, so that's where it ends, is you're looking at John Wick, and there's no dates on it. And then Winston is saying to the Bowery King, "So where do you think he is, heaven or hell?" And so they making a little comment. And then you know, I was in shock. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? John Wick's dead? And I'm like, well, you know, Keanu's got to be like 60. He does a lot of his own stunts, and I'm sure he wants to do other projects. He's a prolific filmmaker constantly. He's been in 100 movies, and he probably wants to move on. But I'm just like, man, this franchise, this movie is, how can he really be dead? But I get, you know, he died an honorable death, and it's you know, so maybe it really is the end of John Wick for now, because what would he come back as, an old man trainer for assassins? Or, you know, I mean, what would he do? I mean, well, you know, go hang out at a beach house or something, and with pictures of Helen all around, and get a new beagle puppy. I mean, what would he do? Drive a taxi cab? I mean, I don't know. So I'm thinking maybe John Wick is really over. So it was a fantastic movie. It is my #1 all-time greatest action movie, bar none, of all time. John Wick 4. Watched John Wick 1, John Wick 2, both excellent movies. But the camera work in John Wick 4, you've got like some fight scenes where they're overhead camera, where he's going room to room to room. It almost looks like a video game, and he's got like all new different ways to kill people with nunchucks, and he's got some like that set you on fire, not flamethrowers, but these, I don't know, it just, the guy catches on fire and you got him running. I mean, creative ways to kill people, but just really the camera angles, the lighting, the scenes, the beautiful, stunning hotels and Paris and the Eiffel Tower and the car scenes and the just, you know, hitting people with the cars, and just one guy really did get hit. He's okay. But anyways, John Wick 4 is just bigger, badder. He only says like about 380 words in the whole movie. He said less than 500 in the last one, I think. I think he kills about 180 people. So the body count's, high as usual, but I liked it so much better than 3. And actually, I think you could have busted it up into 2 movies. You could have had, because the running time's 3 hours. You could have had John Wick 4 and 5. You could have cut that movie in half, had an hour and a half movie. That was the only thing is, I had to go pee in the middle of it because it's like so long. But I mean, I peed in less than 30 seconds, I promise you. Getting back, because I just I didn't want to miss a thing because it was riveting. It was great. And it's just go see it. It's just fantastic. And wow, that's all I got to say about that. If you want to check my playlist for more Keanu Reeves movie reviews, please do. I can highly recommend Destination Wedding if you want a romantic comedy. He's great in that, and he talks a lot. If you want to see Keanu talk a lot, and he looks like he does now, great. Siberia is a great movie in Russia where diamonds and counterfeit diamonds, and that was, I love that movie as well. Those are 2 of my favorites. I really liked The Replacements, where he's a football player. I really liked, oh gosh, what is the little baseball movie where he coached the kids? Hardball, maybe? I can't think of it, but he coaches an inner city kids baseball team. Check my playlist. Ana de Armas is going to star in Ballerina, which is kind of a spin-off movie of this. He was with her in that crazy Psycho movie that he did with the 2 girls. I didn't really care for that movie at all, but that's another interesting one. But yeah, if you want to see more, my name's Jackie Green. Please like, subscribe, leave me a message. I used to work at Paramount Pictures back in the day. I had my chance to meet Keanu. That was an opportunity missed. He was working. That was another movie that I reviewed that he did that was really good, where he played like a redneck. The Gift. That movie is really good too. And that was about the time when I was working there in 1993. And I actually saw him at a club in Hollywood about the time he did Speed, and I didn't say anything to him because I was like, oh my God, Keanu Reeves is standing over there by himself. And I was just like, and then I was watching the band and I looked and he was gone. But he plays guitar as well and has a band. But anyways, that's going to do it for this one. Please like, subscribe, leave me a message. Let me know what you thought about the movie, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Bye, y'all. Hey everybody, it's Jackie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have another in my Keanu Reeves movie review series. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the new John Wick 4. And to get started, I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of 1, 2, and 3 in case you're not familiar with the series. It's my all-time favorite action series, and I'm a girl, so maybe you like it from a different viewpoint. But anyways, John Wick started out in 2014. It reunites a lot of people from the Matrix series. Chad Stahelski is the director of all 4 of these films. He worked with Keanu on The Matrix. Also, Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King worked with Keanu on The Matrix. And you have quite a few other people as well. So John Wick starts out, he is a retired assassin. And he retired because he met a woman, and he was given permission to leave the world if he did a task, and which he did. So we'll get to that later. So anyways, he's retired. His wife falls ill, and so it opens up. She passes away, and he is a grief-stricken man. But he gets a gift from her after she passes, and he buries her, and some of his friends show up to the funeral, specifically Willem Dafoe, and gives his condolences. Well, he receives a package, and it is a puppy, and the beagle puppy's name is Daisy. And daisies were a thing with Helen John's wife. Her stationery has a daisy on it. He's got one of those, a letter from her in his car. Also, she wore a daisy bracelet when she passed. He took that and he carried it with him. Anyways, the whole thing is, that's just a getter for the girls. Plus, Keanu's not hard to look at. So anyways, pretty exciting. So as he is retired, he buries his wife, and he buries all of his guns and weapons underneath concrete in his house. So he's got that all buried. He takes Daisy, he's trying to recover from his loss, takes Daisy in his beloved Mustang and to go get gas. And while he's doing that, a Russian mob guy named Joseph, he sees the car and offers John money for the car. John says it's not for sale, and he's like, everything's for sale. Anyways, the goons follow him home. They beat him senseless. They kill his dog, and that sets off John's coming out for revenge. So John digs up his weapons. He goes to the Continental. The Continental is the hotel where all the assassins can stay. No killing or crimes can be committed on Continental grounds. It's a safe haven where they can stay, eat dinner, make contacts, discuss business, but they can't do any business on the grounds. So he goes to the hotel and he stays there, and he contacts the manager, who is Winston, played by Ian McShane. Now, Ian McShane is a great actor. You might remember him from all the Deadwood series. I absolutely love Deadwood. That was an HBO series. If you're looking for a Western, I highly recommend it. Anyways, he asks where he can find Joseph. And Joseph, he says, if you're retired, if you dip a pinky toe back into this pond, you're getting all the way in. And he's like, nope, just visiting. Anyways, Winston tells him where he can find Joseph. He finds out when word on the street gets back that this is who he's looking for. Well, this is the son of a Russian mobster, and he knows John. So he knows what's going to happen with his son. And he calls John and says, please, spare my son. We're old friends. Let's keep a cool head. John hangs up with him, and he continues looking for Joseph and looking for his car. And he actually goes to the garage. The car was there, but it's since taken out. Aurelio is the garage owner, and he's looking for his car. He can't find it. He finally does find Joseph, kills Joseph. There's great car. He gets his car back out of the garage. He's trying to get out. All these guys are trying to kill him. It's a great car chase scene. Doors get knocked off. People get hit. It's an amazing action sequence. I love that so much out of John Wick 1. And so that's where John Wick finishes up. And as the father is trying to escape in a helicopter, he goes after him. And there's another great fight scene. They're shooting at each other, gets out, try to escape. They take one-on-one, fight man-to-man, and he does kill the father as well. So John is injured, and he stumbles. He needs to get stitched up somehow. He goes to an animal veterinary clinic, gets a staple gun, staples himself up, and then he goes and he adopts a pit bull puppy, and that's how John Wick 1 ends. So that's John Wick 1. John Wick 2 starts out with, he is back home, he's still retired, but there is someone who has a marker on him, D'Antonio. So a marker is what you give another person, a blood oath. You both prick your thumbs, you put it in the little circular thing, and if you call in your marker, then you have to do whatever that person says. So D'Antonio goes to John Wick's house, and he wants him to call in his marker, but he doesn't even know what for. He tells him, no, I'm retired, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, John, you have to. I have a marker. You gave me your word. He's like, I'm not that guy anymore. Find somebody else. And so D'Antonio leaves, but when he leaves, he goes up and he's got rocket launchers, and he blows up John Wick's house, which is, it's amazing. He just torches it. It's all blown up. So there's a cop buddy who lives in the neighborhood, and he always checks on John, and he says, John, gas leak? And he's like, yeah, gas leak. And he's like, oh brother. So he knows he's working again. So John has no home. So he and his puppy walk to the Continental, and actually that is this picture here. He's walking to the Continental with his puppy because he has no home. He finds refuge there. The concierge is played by Lance Reddick. He is brilliant in all of these John Wick films. and he asks if he can bring the dog, and he says, well, we do not have boarding, but I will take care of him. Lance is just an awesome character. He's very, very cool, professional. So John is staying at the hotel, and he wants to talk to the manager about Santino, and he's like, John, you have to honor the marker. We have rules. It separates. It's all about rules and professionalism. You must honor the marker. What does he want you to do? He goes, I don't know what he wants me to do, but I'm retired. I don't want to do it. He goes, you have to. It's the marker. So anyways, he agrees to meet with D'Antonio. So he does. And he goes, when he meets him, he goes, oh, you probably want to kill me. I wonder how you do it. And he was like, with my bare hands, because he doesn't want to do it. But anyways, he wants him to kill his sister. The reason that he doesn't want to kill his own sister, but he wants his sister killed because she's being coronated as a member of the high table, that he can take her seat at the high table. And he wants that. But when his father passed, it wasn't willed to him, it was willed to his sister. So if his sister dies, he'll get that position. So John doesn't want to do it because he's friend with Gianna, his sister, but he does agree to do it. So he travels to the catacombs. He's going through the catacombs to where the party is being celebrated for her coronation. There's a great shooting scene going through the club where everybody's dancing, the band's playing, and John has made it through, and now he's working his way to the crowd trying to get to Gianna so he can kill her. Now, she has got a bodyguard played by Common, the rap star actor, and he's really, really good in his role, but that is Gianna's bodyguard. So as she is greeting all the dignitaries and people who are coming and people who want their land back and all that, she decides to go get freshened up. So she goes to freshen up her makeup, and there's a beautiful, elaborate bath, like an old Grecian bath or whatever, and she is going to take her bath, and she sees John, and she knows he's an assassin, and she's like, we're friends, what are you doing? And he says that, he has a marker, and she realizes, and she goes, who has the marker? And she's like, your brother. And she's like, oh, my brother sent you to kill me. And he goes, well, I thought you got out, why do you have a marker? And he said, he got out for Helen. He goes, so Helen is the reason for my death. And he's like, yes. So anyways, but she said, I'm going to die my way. So she gets ready for her bath, and she goes and she walks down into the bath, and she takes her hairpin out, and it's like a razor, and she takes the razor and she like slices her wrist, and she's like, I'll die my way. And she gets down in the bath water, and the blood is just like, gushing out of her. And anyway, so she does die, after he holds her hand, and she eventually succumbs to her injuries, and then he goes ahead and puts a bullet in her head. Well, so he leaves and he gets out. Then Common is like, okay, she hasn't come back from freshening up, I'll go check on her. So he goes to check on her, realizes she's been murdered, realizes that John did it, and so now he is going through the crowd, and he's trying to find John Wick. And so they catch up, they fight, they tumble down the stairs. He makes his way out and gets on a motorcycle, and he gets to a subway car. They're shooting at each other going through the subway. Then they get on a car, and they're on the car fighting, and he winds up putting a knife in his heart and kills him. And that's it's all really good, well-staged fight scene if you like that sort of thing. If you don't be watching John Wick movies. I personally love I think they're just great action movies. He is free of the marker because he did what he was supposed to do. So, and that's all well and good, but Santino has decided to put a $14 million open contract out on him for killing a member of the high table, Gianna, his sister. So it was a double cross. So there's a big party going on for Santino, who's going to be inducted into the high table, and a toast to his dear departed sister. The party is in New York. So the Continental's in New York, and the Bowery King, he runs the underground. He controls like the homeless people, but they're really working for him. He works underground in New York, so he's controlled one end of New York. Well, Santino's whole plan was to take over New York. So John goes to the Bowery King and says, hey, you need to help me get Santino because he is intending to take over New York. So Bowery King agrees to help him because he's one end of New York, and then Winston has the Continental in New York. So he gives John a gun, and he gets him to the party because he knows where the party's going to be. So John shows up at the party, shooting and trying to kill Santino. So that's another gunfight, and they're going room to room, and he's chasing him. Santino escapes and gets to the Continental. So he gets to the Continental, and John chases him to the Continental. Now, there can be no business conducted on Continental grounds. So Santino's sitting there eating his dinner, and he's like, then John shows up, and he asks Sharon, played by Lance Reddick, who is greatly missed, and he asks, to see the manager, and he's like, yes, and he goes, well, I'm looking for Santino, and he goes, well, he's waiting for you in the restaurant. So he makes his way to the restaurant, and he's walking up to the table where Santino is eating, and he asks John, has he ever tried the menu, and you can eat great, and the duck fat is wonderful, and you really must try it. And he's walking up to kill him, because once he kills him, then he's already free of the marker, but now, he's been double-crossed. And Winston tries to intervene, and he's like, no business on company grounds. And he goes, I'm going to finish it. And he raises the gun. He's like, walk away, Jonathan, walk away. And Santino's like, yeah, walk away, walk away. Boom, shoots him in the head. Okay, so he's like, Jonathan, what have you done? You've killed someone on Continental grounds. And so that's it. So now he has to go to the high table, and John gets excommunicated, and that is his penalty because he killed an upper member of the high table. So anyways, that is almost the end. So then John has to meet Winston out in public and to find out his consequences. And he says, you've been excommunicated, you can't have any of the services at the Continental, and you would be dead right now, but I'm going to give you 1 hour to get away. So as he's walking by, the text messages go out globally. And so everywhere, the people on the street, the homeless people, the people, just everywhere you hear ding, 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 all the phones, and he's walking by with his dog, and because he picked him up from the hotel too, they're leaving, and he realizes he's only got 1 hour before his contract goes global. So that's how John Wick 2 ends. So he's running, and he's got 1 hour to try to get away. So anyway, so that's John Wick 2. John Wick 3, both 1 and 2 are fantastic. They're my favorite. John Wick 3, Parabellum, I don't care for it so much. It's my least favorite. I think you could watch 1 and 2 and then go straight to 4. But anyways, John Wick 3 goes with his contract going global, and he is trying to get away somewhere where he can get a little breather and try to figure out what he's going to do. John Wick 3. Okay, yeah, so he escapes. So now the contract's $14 million, and so he is in a taxi cab, and he realizes that he's not going to be able to keep his dog. So he puts the dog in a taxi, and he gives the driver a coin and says, take the dog to the Continental. So the driver takes the dog to the Continental, and Sharon takes the dog in, and John's trying to get away. The cab is stuck in traffic. So he gets out, and he makes his way to a public library in New York. And the public library, he goes and he selects a book, and he finds this book, and he opens it up. There's a picture of his dead wife. There's some of the coins that are used as currency for anything that you need in this underworld. There is a rosary, and there are, he kisses his picture of his wife, and he gets the coins, he gets the rosary, he puts the book back, and he doesn't even make it out. The hour's not even up yet, and this guy that he knows he's like, well, who's going to care about a couple minutes? And so they get into a big fight in the library, and he winds up killing him with the book and stabbing him with the pencil, but he does get injured. So he's got a few minutes left, and so he makes it to the doctor, And the doctor, he's like, I got a few minutes, you know, can you stitch me up? Doctor lets him in. He stitched him up, and he goes, I'm going to get in trouble by the high table for helping you. They'll never believe that your hour wasn't up. So John shoots him a couple times to make it look like, you know, he didn't have any part of it, and then he sets out. So he takes his rosary, and he gets to a theater, and the theater has ballerinas dancing in it, and the director of the theater is Angelica Houston, but she knows John. John comes from the Belarus tribe, I believe. His real name is Jordani. I forget what it is, but anyways, so he says, you know, the rosary is his ticket to safe passage, and she's like, well, I can't honor that because you're excommunicado. And he's like, please, you know, he was trying to get to the elder in Morocco. That's where he wanted to go. So what they do is they took the cross and they heated it up and they burned it into his back, and she's like, okay, your ticket's been punched. They get him to Morocco. So he gets in Morocco, and he arrives at the Moroccan Continental, and a couple assassins try to kill him right off the bat, but another guy who's local kills them, and he gets them into the manager of the hotel. Well, the manager of the hotel is Sophia, and John has a marker on Sophia because he had helped her in the past. Sophia has a daughter she's trying to protect. She doesn't want to get involved. He's the same thing. I've got a marker on. Yeah, there was a marker in the book too with the coins and the crucifix. So anyways, he pulls Sophia's marker out and says, you have to get me to your boss to get me to the elder because it's the only way that I can get this contract off my head. So she doesn't want to help him, but she does. So, and she's got a couple of German Shepherd type dogs. They're attack dogs. And so they get into fights and trying to get out and so she finally does. She gets him to the boss, and the boss says, you know, go out and walk in the desert until you know, can't take it anymore, and then he will find you. So he does. So he's out in the desert, and he doesn't have any water. Sophia drinks the last water, takes off with the dogs. You know, her marker has been fulfilled. So the elder finds him in the desert when he's half dead, takes him to his tent, revives him, refreshes him, lets him get a fresh suit. He always wears a suit when he's working. And anyways, he's like, what do you want? He's like, you know, I want to be, you know, I want this, you know, he's trying to be free. And he goes, well, you're a killer. You must pledge your fidelity to the high table. I'll let you live so you can keep on with the memories of your wife. And you can think about your wife, but you got to do what you do best. You got to keep killing for us. John agrees. And so what they do is they cut off his ring finger, and they take his wedding band. And so they're holding his wedding band until he does what he's going to do. So he goes back to New York, and he goes back to the Continental, and there is a person called the Adjudicator. And she is a person who goes to the Continental, and she wants to talk to Winston and all the people who've been helping John Wick because he's excommunicado. So the Adjudicator gets the manager, Sharon, and she tells him, you know, your hotel, we're going to take your hotel. You've got to get out. You've got a week to get out. We're taking, because you helped John Wick. Then she goes to the Bowery King, and she tells him also, because he helped John Wick kill a member, San Antonio, of the high table, that he has got to evacuate. And he laughed at her, and he's like, you know, I am the king. And they wound up, they sent this guy named Zero. Zero is a guy who's got a sushi restaurant who works for the table, and he agrees that he will go after John Wick. So he goes in with his buddies, and he storms the Continental, and he's trying to find John Wick. And what they do is John Wick and Sharon, they defend the Continental, and they kill all the people that are coming there to attack it. And Winston hides out in the bunker while John and Sharon are killing everybody. Then they send people to the Bowery to attack the Bowery King. And so the Bowery King and the homeless people and all they're attacking all those guys over there. And so the Bowery King is defending himself. So they're defending New York. Then the Adjudicator is actually staying at the Continental while all this is going on. So she tells Winston that she's taking over the hotel and he's not doing what he's supposed to do. So they've got John Wick up on the roof of the Continental, and she commands Winston to kill John Wick. So Winston does shoot John, and John falls off the building, and that is the end of, John Wick 3. So what it doesn't show is that when John hit the ground, when somebody went out to check and get the body was gone. So what happened was Bowery King sent homeless people up there to put him in a wheelbarrow and roll him into safety and hide him underground. So the High Table is still mad at Winston because he didn't really kill John Wick, and then mad at the Bowery King. So okay, so that's the end of Parabellum 3. And there's all kinds of great scenes. There's like fighting with swords on horses. There's fighting on motorcycles. There's fighting in there's all kinds of fighting. So there's all kinds of fight scenes in all this. I'm just going through the